Good evening, everybody. Honest Abe here from Smoking Headquarters in Boynton Beach, Florida, with my trusty sidekick, the Southpaw from South Philly, Alex Tavella himself.
What's up?
What's up, buddy? What a day.
What a day, huh?
It was a heck of a day. Yeah, let's bring in our other two guests to celebrate. Down in his bunker, live in New Hampshire somewhere, is none other than the man himself, the man, the myth, the mountain, Steve Saka. And of course, the Secretary of State himself of the Red Meat Lovers Club, the man who was there at the moment of conception, when this whole idea formulated about 3 years ago, Evan Darnell. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for the invite.
My trusty Saka Squatch friend over there.
Good evening, everybody.
There
What's
you go.
up,
So what a release. Probably Smoke-Ins. I mean, I can't recall the Anarchy numbers from the original release. I mean, that was a total production volume, but in a 2-hour span to have gone through 600 boxes, probably the quickest microblend limited edition product that we've had in the history of our company. So kudos to you, Steve, for making one hell of a stick.
Well, they actually don't know that the stick's any good at it yet. They're buying it because you're telling them it's good. So it's all on you.
I think they're also going based on your history and the last two Red Meat Lovers Club cigars that you produced. I promise you, if those were terrible cigars, we'd be having a different conversation today.
I don't think we would have ever made it, would we have?
It's true too. That's true. Evan, where are you at? You're in your bunker?
I'm in the bunker. I'm in Delray Beach.
Delray Beach.
The headquarters of Red Meat Lovers Club, right here.
Well, I gotta say, for anybody who doesn't know the whole story, I mean, this is our third drop of the Red Meat Lovers Club. It literally happened by coincidence. Steve Saka just happened to be a guest on KMA Talk Radio back in the days where we actually went to a studio. And Evan Darnell had an event he wanted to promote that weekend.
Yep.
And he had cooked up a bunch of red meat, showed up in the studios with the meat, and we ended up eating meat during the broadcast. And that's kind of how it formulated. I literally said to Steve, I said, do you think you could blend this cigar? I mean, it kind of would pair, because many guys in the industry have tried make cigars that they felt paired with something, whether it be Oktoberfest or certain bourbons or whatever it may be. I just thought it'd be cool we could do one with red meat. And Steve, you didn't hesitate.
No, I'm a fat man. Are you kidding me? And the food he brought was delish. I mean, I was in it just to get a free meal. You know that, Abe. I'm like, am I going to get a free dinner out of this deal? I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, so
I got to tell you what. I don't know if you saw the video that we posted yesterday that Evan and I made, but I'm telling you, I want one of those things. What's it called? What is it called again?
It's called an Autowild. It's a 1500 degree salamander, high intensity oven that you can. It's only 22 pounds, but it gets to 1500 degrees, and it cooks a steak in what was it? Like
how many amps does that thing draw, though? I mean, can you run it off a generator? Because that thing has to really pull.
Dude, he did it in the shop.
You get hard wiring. It's not the same as a guy with a little portable generator.
No, it was a propane tank. It's just a full-size propane tank. Yeah.
Okay,
Steve,
that makes sense to me.
He did nothing to the steak. Literally, he put some Maldon sea salt on there. And what was the other thing you put on there? You put two things.
Yeah, I put Maldon sea salt, and there's just this little. It's almost like an Italian spice salt that I had my friend make for me, and just a little bit on both sides. But it's all about the high intensity heat that gives it that crust that you would expect from a high quality steakhouse.
It wasn't even in there for 6 minutes.
Right.
He put it in there for 2 minutes, two minutes or something, pulled it out, flipped it, put it back in, didn't put butter on it, nothing, and it was delicious. I mean, the outside was crusty, the inside was perfect. It was great. I got to get me one of those, Steve. That's like sounds like something right up your alley that you should have.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, how much are one of those suckers cost?
It's about $700, but I can
share
share.
Red Meat Lovers first. Hold on a second, $700.
Yeah, but I have a code. It's I can share it with Abe. He could post it somewhere. It gets you 10% off.
All right, let me know. We'll put it out there.
You got it.
So Evan, before we get into the cigar, which I want to, and how we got to the box press version, give us a little history on the Red Meat Lovers Club.
So the Red Meat Lovers Club started actually when I was in college, back in 1994 to 1998. I started this club because when I got to college, I saw a poster that said "Save Students Advocating Vegetarian Eating," and as soon as I saw that, I knew that I had to create the opposite club, which was the Red Meat Lovers Club. So from 1994 to 1998, we had a club. We called our events, like we still do, called meetings. And instead of the only difference, and back at Tulane, the events were $7. All you can eat burgers, potatoes, and beer. And now they're a little bit more expensive.
Some comparison. What is a Red Meat Lovers dinner today typically run?
In South Florida, they're around $125. Up in New York City, it's hard to do an event less than $300. Because we do things where it's always open bar, open food, open cigars. So we pack as much value as we can into our events, and we have great dinners.
I had to stop going to them just for the sake of my own health. I mean, no, literally, it's impossible to leave one of your events. Impossible to leave without being like overly stuffed. And there's still tons of food left. And when I say like food, I'm not talking about like your run of the mill. This is like
it's not crudité.
Yeah,
right. This is like serious. This is food.
Yeah,
I mean, it's impossible to like not gorge on just the pre-meal stuff, let alone the main course.
Rookie mistake.
Right. I thought that. Yeah,
you go there and you eat all these amazing apps, and by the time you get to the main course, you're done. You're finished.
Yeah, but the apps are fantastic, so it's hard to resist them. That's the problem. And
it's a big.
Even if you just want a taste of one of everything, you've still got a whole meal before you begin.
Exactly.
I can just have the sexy bacon that they make and fill up on that. In fact, I call it the white man's crack. It's like literally the most addictive. You can't stop eating thing. It's just chunks and cubes of bacon. I don't even know what they do to it. And then he has the special sexy seasoning that they use.
Yep.
And I needed a big favor at the fairgrounds one year for the Great Smoke, and all this guy did was rave about the bacon he had at the pre-event dinner. And I think I reached out once or twice, hey, can I hook this guy up? And, they never responded, and I let it go. And then I really needed a favor. And I was on the hard point, and he's like, and he looked at me. It's like a year later. He goes, how about some of that bacon? He did a year later, and they actually dropped off like literally a whole tray of it, which I had to like take a pound before I dropped it off.
So we do these events, and what's really cool about the club now is that every event we do, we tie it into a different charity. So when you're at the event, not only are you having this amazing dinner experience, but then we're raising money for various charities. And I'm incredibly proud to say, since April 2018 to now, and we did have like a 6-month timeout, we've raised about $410,000 for various charities, highlighted in February by over $100,000 raise in one event for a sick kid in Boca. So we're really proud of that.
Well done.
Good stuff.
And the other thing too is it gives us an excuse to be gluttons because it's for charity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It gives me an excuse to tell my wife I'm doing it for the charity. It's not
it's for the kids, love.
For the ribeyes and the epic cigar buffets that we create.
Evan, did you ever think that when you started the club that your club name would be attached to probably one of the most sought after cigars, limited release cigars in the cigar industry?
No, obviously, but I can tell you this, that I've loved cigars since I was 17 years old. Like, I was the kid in college smoking cigars in New Orleans in the corner, just enjoying what a cigar can do for me, which was I loved the whole ritual of it. So to answer your question, the answer is no, but I can tell you that I'm beyond proud of this cigar, and the relationship that's been created out of it. I'm just really thankful for.
Well, it's good stuff. So, if you're just joining us, if look, we sold out. The Red Meat Lovers Club cigars are sold out for 2020, but we are giving away this 2.5 foot. Is that what we're calling them now?
I don't even care. Let's just call it Mega Squash. Does it not seem? I measured it. It was like right under 27 inches, but it looks bigger than that, doesn't it?
It does look big.
I mean, it's broad.
It's a very impressive Saka Squatch. This will be the first one in the country. Oh, it's actually not that heavy, but this will be the first one in the country that'll be given away at this event. Anybody who made a purchase today during our virtual event with Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust is automatically entered. You have to purchase any of their regular product. So we do have 5-packs and boxes that are still on sale. If you get a 5-pack, you get 1 entry into this. And if you get a box of any of their product, you get more. And at 8:20, we're going to cut it off. And then we're going to do a live drawing right here to give one of these bad boys away. So that's going on from now until 8:20. If you haven't got a chance, or you didn't get any on any of the Red Meat Lovers Club earlier today, you can still participate, get some good event pricing on some of the probably best cigars being made today, and get yourself a chance to be the first person in the country with bragging rights to have one of these in their front yard, backyard.
You didn't keep any Red Meat Lovers to put in like the 5-packs, so there aren't like 100 5-packs with 1 RML in it?
Those all went by the boxes, Steve. They're gone.
They're gone.
They were gone.
You kept some for your age and rare, fine, whatever you call that room?
No. I have a small personal stash for my look. I'm most of that stuff when I keep it for my rare and vintage room. It's always like I order a surplus of some company has limited edition, my own product. But you know, I've always been, and this is why when we did the first micro blend, we had so many. I hate those releases where everybody who has a chance couldn't get one, right? So we only scaled down the production this year because last year we kind of shot it over the top and it lasted a little bit longer. But I hate when we do these guys have these releases and really the majority. I mean, I'd like to believe that almost 99 or 95% of anybody out there who really want it got a chance to get it today. Right. I really didn't think it would.
Well, I think so. Something that consumers don't understand is, I think we pulled the trigger on the quantity back in March. Right. So we're in the middle of the beginning of COVID. We don't know.
Right.
And I can just be honest with everybody. We weren't selling jack crap. Sales were just completely dead for Dunbarton in the month of March. And, luckily things changed in April for us by the tail end. But you're trying to make plans for something for a Thanksgiving release. And that was when it was supposed to be originally released. And how are you supposed to pick a number at that point? The number should have been 0. That should have been the number if you were looking at what was going on in the moment. So it's funny. I tell people that I find these things risky. I think at the point that we pulled the trigger, the number we picked, which is more than the first year, not quite as many as the second year,
right?
Was still a pretty risky number.
Well, there's always a risk, and it's not like it goes bad. So you just don't want it lasting forever because that's not the intention. It's supposed to be a nice drop, and the people who want it should get it. And it's funny because Evan Darnell lost a bet to me, a signed bill one year, because he thought it was going to sell out in one day. And I said, "You're out of your mind." And I think it was the year we did the 1,000, and I'm like, "We'll have some in a month." And he lost a signed bill to me, so I got it. And he wanted to bet me yesterday, and I wouldn't do it. Because I had a feeling that it was very possible that we'd sell out in a day, even though it hadn't happened both times before, not on our first or second run.
I think the first one took like a couple weeks, didn't it, for the first ones to sell out?
We had some at the end of the month, very few, but we had set some aside, which lowered it because you wanted some for the Great Smoke.
Right, I remember that. So that's right. We set some aside for the Great Smoke.
Right, so you'd have some there to sell. So I just felt that the response we've had the last 2 years, our reach over the last 2 years have grown. Your reputation and popularity has grown.
Right.
I was kind of suspect that he could be right, and I wouldn't make the bet with him. And thank God. Otherwise, you'd have a signed dollar bill from me.
You would have bet me if it was like, I'll bet you it will sell out in 5 hours. You would have taken that bet.
Yeah, maybe 5 or 6 hours I would have.
Yeah. But
you know, there was a lot going on. Like Steve was saying, there's no way we could have predicted back in March where we were going to be at today. I mean, listen, honestly, you know, if you told me in March we were going to be closing in September, I would have said you're out of your mind.
Right.
You know, I mean, who knew?
And then the other thing that none of us knew was that I was going to end up with 3 limited production releases all happening in the same 4-week period. I mean, because that wasn't planned that way either. COVID just kept delaying everything. So, you know, so that made it even harder because, you know, those guys that are, you know, some of our most loyal supporters, I mean, I've already been banging on their wallet really hard. I mean, they got to just hate me right now.
Well, you know, it's funny because, you know, when Steve says that, he's being 100% sincere. He literally called me all worried because we had pushed it back. This typically drops before Thanksgiving, right? I mean, we had taken an ad in a magazine saying, we said, save a turkey, you know, order, you know, smoke a Red Meat Lovers Club cigar, because typically it drops before Thanksgiving. And it got pushed back because of the hurricanes and COVID and other things. And he was so concerned. I'm like, look, I think it'll be fine. You know, each of these retailers that you deal with are all excellent, reputable retailers. They all have their following too of people that don't commingle. And then of course you have your hardcore followers are going to follow your releases no matter what shop. But we weren't worried about it. And honestly, after smoking it, I, you know, kind of wish I had set aside a little more, because when I got to smoke these very sparingly now, because, you know, we won't see it again until next year. But talking about this year, I can't remember exactly. We knew we wanted to do a different size. Yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick, you mentioned that, unfortunately, I'm sure everybody knows at this point, but the Red Meat Lovers is all gone. You can still get your hands on 5-packs and boxes to get into the raffle, but with those purchases of regular product, you're also going to get your hands on Pulpetta as well.
Forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah. So there's still Pulpetta out there to be had.
Yeah, any regular production purchase will get you, even a 5-pack, will get you at least one entry for this and one Pulpetta cigar, and you get more entries and more Pulpettas if you buy a box. So that's available from now until 8/20. We're going to download all the people who placed event orders since we opened up at noon, and we're going to give this away tonight live here on the broadcast. So going back to the evolution of the meat box press, right? I can't remember. I remember we had talked with Evan. We said, let's change up the format. And you had sent us, I don't think we specifically requested a box press, but you had sent us a bunch of different formats. I remember one was really short, whatever. And this was, I think there was about 4 of us in the room.
Yep.
Evan, it was me.
Yeah, there was 4 of us. I think
2 of my team members.
Briggs was in there, maybe.
And we all navigated to the box press.
Yep.
It was smoked right and whatever. What was your thinking? Because you didn't send us all box press cigars. You had sent us some rounds too, in different sizes. Did you have a preference when you were doing that?
Yeah, I like the box. Well, remember, Abe, we talked about another size that you guys were looking at, but it was a physically smaller size. Yeah. And I was just kind of worried about, you know, the perceived value to the consumer, because the truth is the smaller size didn't actually cost me that much less to make. And I think that it's the same basic blend. I mean, it's the same ingredients. U.S. Connecticut broadleaf #1 darks, Mexican capote, and then a combination of Nicaraguan with a spike of U.S. Pennsylvania seed leaf in the Ligero. So the blend from the original 2 drops hasn't changed, but what's changed is it's been scaled for a 6x52. It's then been adjusted to be pressed. And the thing about the press is the press kind of slows the burn down a little bit. And by slowing the burn down a touch, it just lets more of that earthiness kind of come out. So I just really thought that the blend lended itself really well to being pressed. Just the same way as in Sin Compromiso. I think Sin Compromiso is a much better cigar in the pressed version that's on the shelves versus when I make it in a traditional round. Vice versa, Sobremesa is much better in the round than the press. The blend just works better because the press really does change the combustion rate and the draw of the cigar, which then ultimately impacts the flavor. And I just thought this one worked really well in the pressed format. And you notice I went with a more severe press on this. Sin Compromiso is more of a soft press, where this is a much more traditional kind of, and not to take anything, but kind of more like what you would consider a Padron press, right? It's a little bit more rectangular. It's a little bit more flat on the sides. And so it's a bit more severe than what I normally do. But I felt like it, you know, it really worked well going with that kind of scale. So I'm glad. And ultimately, had you guys not selected, I probably would have badgered you to select it because I really did. I felt like it was the best one.
Well, I guess we did good then in our selection process. So let's be honest. Are you at all taken aback, Steve, at these limited releases and back to back? And
Yeah.
You know, are you seeing yourself?
Of course. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, when does that? I mean, see, this is the thing. Consumers from the outside, they have a weird perspective on things, you know, because they have a kind of a social media. They don't realize how hard it is to sell just one limited 500 of something. I mean, I made a comment in a Facebook group today that when I was at Drew Estate, our first drop of Flying Pigs was 1,250 boxes. Drew Estate was 7 times bigger than we are now. We had a sales team of like 15 people. We had 2,300 accounts direct. We didn't sell those 1,250 boxes out in a blink of an eye, you know. So yeah, no, it is a little peculiar. It's a little strange, and you always have to kind of pump the brakes a little and remember. And then because you know it's just I had Frog Juice, I had Donderma, I had U-Boat, I had Famous 80th, I had Firecracker, I got Red Meat Lovers. Unstolen Valor is essentially a limited production cigar. Look at Sobremesa Blue, for God's sakes. I mean, I've had a lot of stuff this year. So you keep asking yourself, okay, when is it not going to work? Because
you know what most of our listeners aren't taking in right now is that most people that you will deal with, and I can say this confidently because it's from my perspective on my end, I agree, they wouldn't give a shit. Seriously. I mean, they will sell it because it's at the end of the day, Steve, it's my problem, right?
Yeah, but it really isn't your problem because if it doesn't do well, then that means you're going to be less likely to do more business with me in the future. It's going to mean that the consumer isn't going to go out of their way and buy cigars from a shop that they don't normally do business with. I mean,
but the fact that you actually have a concern and care, I'm just telling you, most manufacturers, because look, at the end of the day, if we don't do our job in getting the word out there and letting people know we're doing this and move the product that we've already committed and we've bought from you, it wouldn't affect.
No, I got all my money. You paid me already.
And it wouldn't affect what we do with your regular brands because that's all dictated by consumers that walk through the door. But I think it's awesome that you actually have these deep concerns.
Well, and I have another concern even more than selling it. I always worry more about, are people going to like it? Because they have to like the last one in order to be willing to give you good faith on the next one. Now, Red Meat Lovers has a 3-year history, right? Firecracker has a 3-year history. But those people that bought Frog Juice this year, they did that totally blind. The people that bought U-Boat bought it blind. The people that bought Sobremesa Blue, they bought it blind. They had no idea what they were getting. No one ever tasted it. There's no history. And look, they're taking real money out of their pockets that they had to work for, and they're giving it to you, and they're extending you a lot of faith. So there's a lot of pressure that these limiteds be really worth going out of your way for. And I think that a lot of companies, they really lose sight of that because they look at these limiteds as though they're like easy cash. But the truth is, it's really just a great opportunity to just mess up. You know what I mean? Because when you release a limited and it ain't all that special, it really hurts the image of your company and what you're doing and future things you're going to do. So You know, you gotta. I think you have to treat them very cautiously.
I think that's why you keep hitting it out of the park. I don't think everybody goes into that with that kind of mentality. You know, where
most people just look at, oh, this is an easy way to sell an extra 200, 300, 500 boxes of cigars.
Yep.
Just look at, oh, one customer, one sale, one check, bam, I'm done. I made my money.
Yep. Question from one of your big fans and a great smoking supporter, Mr. Duque. He wanted to know what factory was the RMLCs made with Red Meat Lovers.
RMLs have always been made at Nicaraguan American. I mean, look, RML is a kind of a variation off from the core Mi Querida kind of line of cigars. So if you're a fan of Mi Querida, you're very likely to be a fan of RML, and vice versa. If you love RML, they're not identical. They are different. I mean, the regular Mi Querida doesn't have the Pennsylvania seed leaf in it. The proportions are different. One of the filler tobaccos also in the Nicaraguan side is different, but it's in that same general genre. It's that, you know, I don't want to say it's full because it isn't a peppery style cigar, but it's definitely, you know, on a 10-point scale, probably a 7, a 7.5, an 8 right in there. It is that earthy. It is that Connecticut broadleaf sweetness. It's all those things that are just really heavy and chewy and meaty and, you know, umptious. And that's why I think it pairs well with a heavy meal, particularly of steak.
Now, is it me, or do I find this version, because like I'll be honest with you, I haven't had a year 2 release in forever. I do have some bundles that you signed from us from the first release, which will eventually we had you sign them, especially because we wanted to differentiate, because we had them, you know, sometimes in your storage area they get mixed up, but we had you sign them all and date them from the first release,
right?
So eventually make it our rare vintage room. But this one just feels like it produces so much more smoke.
So much more.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not just me, right?
No, not at all.
No, that was the first thing that we talked about when we sat down and we lit up the cigar, is how it just coated your mouth with all this great smoke, which I have a feeling it's going to pair up nicer with a big steak than the first one, because it's just so easy to smoke. I was just so turned on by that factor.
Can we tell them the discussion we had before we got on, Abe? Or is that supposed to be kept a secret?
About the dinner?
Yeah, about my opinion of the first one.
We'll say it again?
My opinion of the first one.
I tell it the way it is. Go ahead.
So when I made the first one, we're having the dinner, and the first RML was very good, and the second RML was identical to the first RML. They were very good cigars, but even at that dinner, I was kind of grousing a little bit that I just felt like it could be a little better. You know what I mean? That there was more to be had out of it, that it could be nicer. So I'm really pleased that I kind of got this third, because here's the difference. It's not like a core production item. You're making a core production item and you're making it every day. And you're getting the opportunity to smoke it, you know, no age on it, 2 weeks of age on it, 8 weeks of age on it, 12 months, a year. Like, for example, I have slightly tweaked the blend on Sin Compromiso and Trepido. Okay, the ones with the pigtails on them is a little, the curly pigtail is a little different than the original one, because I just kind of felt like it wasn't, when I did it, I thought it was right. But then in hindsight, you know, a year and a half later, you've now smoked, you know, dozens, if not hundreds of them. You see what they taste like with a year of age on them. You're like, you know, there's just something, just a little more that you can do to just make it that little bit better. But you need that time. You need that quantity of production to get some sense on that. So I'm really glad that we took this third crack on this one, because this, in my opinion, and I told you this from jump, this one is the best of the three. Is it lights out, like way better? I don't know. There's going to be, you know how this works, Abe. There's going to be people that are going to swear that the first and the second one were the best.
Yeah.
It all comes to individual taste. I mean, it's not like the first one was crap. It wasn't. Nor was the second one. They've always been great cigars. But I just feel like this is a little better.
That's one of my things that I'm always like in anticipation of, and I can't wait. I can't wait because, you know, I think we got more than half or almost half out today. And by tomorrow, end of day, unless you had any additional product ordered that we may have to get from another location or whatnot. Almost anybody who ordered Red Meat Lovers Club, the order should be going out tomorrow, by the end of the day tomorrow. And that's a lot of orders, and kudos to our team. We literally had like 4 extra guys in and packing and pulling, and it wasn't just packing RMLC. They had Great Smoke flyers. They had our holiday mint now. In December, we have a special holiday mint tin that's going out with everybody. So they, handwritten letters. Oh no, this one we did a typed letter. Went out, but we still had other orders that required normal process too. So kudos to the team, and it'll go out. But I'm always excited for them to start landing and for people to start smoking.
And I'm always nervous about them landing.
But look, I think that's what keeps you on your game. You're literally always nervous about everything. I mean, I've known you and your wife for a long time. I mean, look, we're releasing our new, which news will be coming out probably in the next week or two, but we're releasing our new subscription club, the Connoisseur Club, where we've commissioned, manufacturers to make cigars exclusively for this club.
Not Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Let me point out.
Not what?
Not Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. I have not heard of this.
This Connoisseur Club?
I haven't been offered this opportunity.
Are you serious? Are you kidding?
No, I don't even remember. It's the first time I've ever heard of it.
You gotta be kidding me. You committed to 2 months.
Did I really? Oh, I'm fucked. I need the details. Can you get that smart, sharp girl you have working for you?
Listen.
Oh my God.
In your defense, you knew you were going to be slammed. You're late in the year.
That's good because this whole Nika situation has been crazy.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
That was his response. Like, he was all worried. I don't know if I should make it. There's no upside. They don't like it. You don't remember this whole conversation we had?
Dude, it's the same bullshit conversation I have with everybody. Hold on a second. I'm trying to go to my 2021 project list right now and see if it's on there.
Yeah, you picked the 2 months yourself.
Oh my God, I'm in trouble.
Well, I'm glad I bought it.
Right.
Glad that came up.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I remember the conversation. I said to you that if I ever made a woodchuck cigar, you could have it because you were just foolish enough to call me right away.
That was way after. Was way after. But
yeah, I could use some details on this one. I'm going to follow up tomorrow with Marissa. Yeah,
it's no joke because I have reminders set 5 months before the delivery date, which is like a month before I'm supposed to get it, because I worry that a manufacturer might forget it and slip up, and it's not a regular production item. You can't just say, "Oh, let me go to the warehouse." If somebody forgets to make it, there ain't gonna be a cigar in that selection. So don't worry. I have reminders set like 5 months, 6 months.
Yeah, but that's not enough time for me. So I got to get cracking on it in January.
Okay. Well, I will get you. I will rehash all the details with you again tomorrow.
Because I'm gonna be in Nika almost the entire month of January. So that part's good. I'm gonna. Yeah. Look, I haven't been to Nika in so long. I mean, so
yeah. You haven't gotten there yet, have you?
No. I mean, it's been so difficult to travel there because of the way there's really only one airline flying, and that's Avianca. And the problem is, so when you land, you have to have a PCR COVID test with the certified paperwork, and it can't be older than 72 hours. That's difficult to get. But the real problem is you have to submit that certified COVID test greater than 36 hours before your flight departs. So you really have only 36 hours to get that certified COVID test with the paperwork. You get tons of COVID tests, right? But getting the certified paperwork in 36 hours turnaround, you can get a text on your phone saying, hey, you don't have it. But getting the paperwork that you need is the problem. So it turns out now there's about 3 places in the general South Florida area that you can walk in the morning and pay an exorbitant fee, and they will guarantee to get you the results within 24 hours. So that you can then afford the airline. But that's still not a guarantee, because what's been happening is Avianca, not enough people can hit that 36-hour target window, and then they just cancel the flight because they don't get enough people that can get the paperwork done on time. and then the flight just gets canceled, and then you have no way to go there. And on top of that, you just paid hundreds of dollars to get a rush COVID test with paperwork that's just gone. It has no value at all. But I can't wait anymore. So what's going to happen is in January, I'm going to go down to Miami the first week. I've already scheduled the COVID test with the place. I've already bought my plane ticket. And I'm going to try to do it that way. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to end up chartering a flight from Miami to Nicaragua and just pay the big dollars and fly in a private plane. Because I just can't wait anymore, because next year is going to be a crazy year because of the way the FDA thing went. All of these companies are going to release a bazillion new products. There's going to be so many new products next year. Consumers' heads are probably going to be spinning. And this is speculation on my part, but I just think that this is the way it's going to go. And because I do everything myself, I'm not making new products. I have some things that were already in the kitty that I had done before, but I don't necessarily want to use them. You know what I mean? I have a plan that, oh, well, that's for Sober Mesa's 10th anniversary. Oh, that's for me, K Rita, for 2022, you know? So I need to go. That's all there is to it. And regardless of what it costs, and it will cost about $20K for a charter flight from Miami to Managua.
There's nobody you could split that flight with? I'm sure there's other guys that want to.
I'm sure it could, but then I got to try to coordinate with a bunch of other people that I don't like. And, and for me, in the grand scheme of things, it's a lot of money, but figure how much have I spent on flights this year? Barely anything, right? I've been since March, I've been on a plane twice.
Where'd you go?
I don't want to talk about it because it'll give a hint as to what my future projects are.
That's kidding.
Yeah. I got something crazy for next year. Yeah, if you think the whole sweet tip controversy on Brulee is an issue, it's going to blow that out of the water. It's going to be crazy.
Oh, that's coming out in 2021?
It is if I get my shit together.
Just don't write your notes where you wrote the Connoisseur Club notes.
So hey, I sent a note to Steve today, and it's like what he goes through with a limited production cigar, his brain thought, it's exactly what I go through on every big event that we do. I'm planning an event. I don't know if I'm going to sell one ticket or 250 tickets. So it's I completely understand. And you're only as good, to Steve's point, you're only as good as your last event in my brain. If I mess up an event, and I've messed up plenty, it takes me a while to recover those people. So what he goes through is it's the same thing in the event business.
I think it's the same thing. That's why Abe put so much time into the Great Smoke, because
right.
he knows that there's a certain level of expectation by the customers, and he doesn't want to let them down.
Yeah,
you can't just look at it as an easy cash grab, because we all know I'm going to make 1 million cigars a year, right? 6,000 red meat lovers in the grand scheme of things isn't what moves the bottom line, but it does have a dramatic impact on how the customers feel, because your best customers are the ones that go out of their way to get them. A lot of these guys are the ones that are very active on social media and post about what they buy and what they get. So it's really, when you look at how much you make on them, the level of risk on them is just way over the top compared to the return. Now, when you do it right, it helps to make your company, a bigger name, a better name. It helps get new consumers involved. It helps you open new retail accounts. Because look, when they see that, oh, wow, All Famous 80 is sold out in a couple of days. Wow, Firecracker sold out in 40 minutes. Wow, Red Meat Lover sells out in under 3 hours. They go, maybe I should look at that Dunbarton guy. Maybe his cigars are worth putting on my shelf. You know what I mean?
You think?
But if it's a turd, if it doesn't do well, it has just the opposite effect. So,
no, you're right. Honestly, I didn't think about it, but you're right. I do have an undue pressure in every one of the events that we do, and especially the Great Smoke, and especially this year being this absurd, asinine project that we came up with where it literally just started as a joke. There was, we were tanking in the room. Do we want to cancel the Great Smoke after 15 years? Or do we want to do a pseudo virtual event like I saw a couple other companies do that were just very unimpressive? And then we kind of made a joke. Let's do it like a telethon, 8 hour. And we laughed about it. And I don't think when we first said it, we said, oh, that's even feasible. Then my operation guy goes, well, my best friend of 30 years is a production company. They've done the Golden Globes and Kings of Comedy and Soul Train. I could talk to him. And we're like, really? And then it just starts rolling. And next thing you know, we're trying to do this thing that's never been done before. And the support that we've gotten from consumers, guys who've been to the event the year before, people who've never been to the event and heard of it, the retailers. I got retailers throwing watch parties. Some of the awesome manufacturers who are working with us to make some very small production. I'm talking like 100 units of very limited stuff for the event. And Steve, thank you. You're one of the guys who are supporting us on that matter. Trying to create something special. So yeah, I get that worry, but since you brought it up, it's a good segue into another kind of epic news that we kind of developed today. Because Steve, you're going to be one of the guys making a very limited release that'll be available to only people who buy tickets for the Great Smoke. And you'll be flying down to be in this crazy stage setup that we're doing, and you're doing an interview. And so you'll be in Florida for the Great Smoke. And Evan came up to me and said, look, since we're technically not having a pre-event dinner, I know you're throwing these watch parties. So basically he's kind of taken over Boynton Beach to throw his own watch party, our Red Meat Lovers Club watch party for any of the local people who don't get a chance to make it to the studio, who want to come to our headquarters here and watch the event live. And you're doing 2 food sessions, correct?
We're doing 2 food sessions.
A lunch service from 12 to 1:45 and a dinner service from...
Let me back it up by one second. So the highlight, we do probably 30 events a year. Honestly, my favorite event is the Great Smoke VIP dinner. It's because, you're one of the people that believed in our club first. And to me, I love turning the club on to people that have never seen it before. So I wanted to continue the tradition. We've done the last 2 Great Smokes, and I wanted to continue it. So I asked for the store to do an 8-hour off and on meat festival. Okay.
A festival of meat.
We also knew that we were going to honor, and highlight Steve this year. He was going to be our guy. So I wanted to continue that. So a couple things happened. One, I reached out to probably the biggest, meat people out there, which is Certified Angus Beef. And I told them what I wanted to do. And as soon as I told them, they said, not only are we participating Certified Angus Beef, but we're also going to underwrite all the meat. We're talking about hundreds of pounds of meat, and we're going to send it down. They may send someone down. I asked for over 300 pounds of filet and ribeye. Okay. And they said, we'll talk to someone. They talked to someone and they immediately said yes. So we're going to be highlighting. I have about 19 different things that we're going to be making throughout the day. And
so damn fat.
I asked.
What did you mumble, Steve?
I said I'm going to be so damn fatter.
So then I also asked Abe, I said, Abe, let's do the thing with Steve because it's such a great relationship. So I found out recently that Steve will participate in this meat festival virtual party. And I mean, I've gone creative. I've had months to think about this. I've wanted to do this for a while. So the things that we're going to be doing at your store you're going to have to you're gonna have to like deep clean your cigar shop, because normally it smells like cigars. We're gonna be completely changing the smell of your store to meat and deep grizzled meats. It's going to be a great event. The menu is ridiculous, and Potions in Motion, who is our go-to caterer throughout the country.
Do you know it? Because I don't have it in front of me. I read it.
I do. It basically, during the day, we're going to be doing like all these different. I'm going to bring it up. We're going to be doing all these different sandwiches and filet mignon tacos. We're going to have all these different things. But then at night, I mean, the menu is just insane. I have it in front of me. But I know that we're going to be doing, like we normally do, our carving stations. But then, I'm going to be doing a prime rib carving station, a filet mignon carving station. That bacon you were talking about, we're doing a bacon carving station.
Wait, this is dinner.
This is just a dinner. I have a whole other menu for lunch. But what's really great, it's similar to the Great Smoke. To me, the reason why the Great Smoke is going to be such an amazing event, and the reason why I love our events, is the value that you've built into the Great Smoke is incredible. Like, I could see someone buying 3 tickets just because of the cigars and whatever else that comes with it. But we're doing a baked potato bar, a cheesesteak bar. This is just at dinner, and then the lunch with the certified Angus meatball sandwiches, chicken parm sliders, filet mignon tacos, truffle mac and cheese. No one's gonna ever see this much food in a room ever. Like, I can't tell you how many. We're going to be able to feed hundreds of people, but we're only going to sell 100-something tickets. We're going to cap it, but we're going to bring enough food that people are going to, they may pass out.
I'm glad, because the broadcast is supposed to end like at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So there better be some food getting here, because it looks like I'd rather be there than in the studio, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Abe, if I go missing from the broadcast, you know where to find me.
No, you got to wait. You're driving me.
Since we're in real time, and I texted this to you today, Abe, is that, so we're setting up this, hopefully we're going to be setting up this tent with the 30-foot screen for the virtual party. But
well, here's the thing. We're looking into now, because we have this screen.
Right.
If it will work under tent, because it's during the day most of the broadcast, and that's the problem. But look, I'm getting some questions I'm seeing here. How can they come to the watch party? The tickets for the watch party are on sale. You could buy a lunch ticket. You could buy a dinner ticket. You can come here, watch the event. The tickets are on sale now at smokin.com/TGS meet. So TGS meet. And if you're interested, if you're local or you're going to be in town anyway, and you want to do the watch party here with the Red Meat Lovers Club, you can get your tickets and get a lunch ticket, dinner ticket, or a combo, and be here for 8 hours of debauchery, I guess.
Is that going to be at which location, Abe?
Boynton Beach will be our headquarters.
Boynton Beach, okay.
Yep, it will be at our headquarters. So that's another piece of breaking news. That was literally when you texted me this morning, like, well, Steve will be in town. I mean, I don't think it'd be a problem. He texted him. Steve was like, yeah. Once again,
really special night. It's going to be really special.
Well, your events are always pretty special. I mean, look, Evan met me. Evan met me through a mutual friend who said, you two people need to meet. And he literally came in January.
I came in January.
And I'm like, Evan, as much as he goes crazy and do these over top things, like, I'm a very excitable person. When I get excited, you feel it. He's laid back. He's talking to me. So I have this club, and it's a meat club, and I'm like, 4 weeks away from the Great Smoke, and I'm listening to him. I said, look, I love what you're telling me. It sounds great, but like, we're like, around the bend to our biggest event of the year, and I can't even comprehend the words coming out of your mouth now. Can you just give me come back for like a month and we'll talk and we'll figure out what we do? And I can hear from you for like about we're like, is anybody getting feedback?
I'm hearing your feedback.
Okay. So and I didn't hear from you for about 4 or 5 months.
Right.
And then he just sends me a simple Facebook message. Hey, I'm doing a beefsteak. I'd love for you to be a guest. And you and a guest come to this beefsteak. And I never heard of what a beefsteak was. Do you know what a beefsteak is, Steve?
Yes. It's where they just have mounds of meat and you eat everything with your hands.
Yeah, I guess you do. I had never heard of this. No utensils, tons of food. So I ended up taking Matt Briggs, our operations guy. And I remember that night, man. It was like a long day. I looked at him. Do you want to go? And he looked at me. I was like, no. Do you really want to go? I was like, he invited me. It was nice of him. I feel bad if we don't go. So we both kind of said, we'll just go. We'll show our face. We'll say hi, and we'll get out of there. So we do the drive. We walk in. And the first thing I see is a bacon tree. Literally, I walked into a bacon tree. They had this wood contraption with clotheslines all around it, with clothespins and bed sheets on the floor, and this like 1/8 of an inch cut thick strips of bacon, maple glazed, dripping slowly. And you just walked up and ate as much bacon as you wanted. As quickly as you could pull them off the tree, they're putting them more back on. And then they had other appetizers. I was like, oh, it's pretty good food, whatever. Not realizing that the sit-down part of this event hadn't even started. And all I know is we ended up not leaving until almost midnight. Had a great time. I think we ended up going to the next 5 events straight. I think I put on like 20 pounds. But that's how we met, by just coincidence. And it wasn't for that beefsteak invite, who knows where we'd be today. There might not be an RMLC cigar.
Right.
It might not be. But
Right?
I'll tell you what, though, those type of events was the foundation of the club. And then that's the fun of it, is trying to recreate the magic every single event. Like you, Steve, have to recreate the magic on every single cigar.
Yeah, but it's easy. You're giving people great food. Let's be honest. You can have a bacon tree at every event, and everyone's going to be happy, right?
True.
Yeah. I mean, that's but
maybe
why you were enamored by it. Abe? The reason you were enamored by it is because how many things have been hyped to us, and then we go and we're like, this was nice, but you know what I mean? So it is very refreshing that when you go to something and they tell you it's going to be gluttonous, and it turns out to be truly gluttonous. And we're talking about a different level of gluttony when you're a 350-pounder like me. You know what I mean? So, I mean, to hit the gluttony level, that's a very, very high bar. And, and that's the thing is, this event has always done it. And that's what's so appealing of it.
It is. And it's awesome to work with guys like Evan and guys like you, Steve, even though everything's always an uphill battle in conversation with you, but that's because he's laughing because he knows it's
I feel the same way with you. You're a pain in my ass, man.
I'm easy. I'm easy.
That text you sent me today, I didn't even respond to it because there was nothing good I could say, and I'm like, I'm just going to ignore this nonsense.
It wasn't nonsense. I thought it was a very legitimate text.
Yeah. You want to have this fight? You want me to read it out loud? You want to do it in front of the public?
I wanted to show you.
You want to vote in the comment box who thinks right and wrong?
I wanted to, Steve. I don't care. You know me. I don't care. But I wanted to show you that even though I didn't agree with the viewpoint, I felt bad that you were put in that predicament.
Yeah, I understand. It's okay. I think we smoothed it over, but it probably cost me some money to make it smooth.
But how's look? I mean, I'm in retail, so I'm having this problem all over, and we may have it today, depending on what people have added to their cart to win this guy. And speaking of which, I'm calling it now for all our listeners. Right? If you haven't had a chance today, and you haven't stopped by our virtual event, go to smokin.com/RMLC.
RMLC.
And there are no more Red Meat Lovers Club today, but buy any of the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. You can buy a 5-pack, as little as a 5-pack, and you will get one chance to win this mega Saka Squatch, first one in the country. And if you buy a box, you get more chances. And along with any of those purchases of regular production items, you'll get Steve's event-only, highly sought-after Pulpetta cigars. So I'm calling it now. In 20 minutes, we're going to shut it down, and we're going to do the live drawing. But how's back orders and production been? Because you kind of were riddled a little bit with back order issues prior to this whole COVID.
It's been a tough year. I mean, because nothing has gone as planned. I mean, you had this weird scenario where in 2019, numbers were down for most companies. We were up. But look, we're a small part of what the factories we work with produce. So even though they weren't scaling back on my stuff, they were scaling back on other things. And then we had an amazing January and February. We were like up 58 points. So, and as you know, in our business, Abe, other than you guys in South Florida, Arizona, Southern California, business really slows down in the winter.
Yeah.
Because look, even if it's 55 degrees in Atlanta, that's too cold for them to be outside smoking cigars. So it's very relative to the place that you are. So in my end of the business, you typically don't do great sales December, January, February. And March is the month where things start to turn around because spring is coming. That's what you're planning on having happen. Now, we wait on the weather to break. Sometimes it doesn't happen in March. Sometimes it happens towards the end of March or early April. But it always happens. Whereas this year, what ended up happening was no sales happened in March. No sales ended up happening in the beginning of April because retailers didn't know what the future was either. So they were just selling the inventory they had in their humidors. Or there were a lot of sales happening because the big guys were willing to buy a lot, but you had to give them super, super duper steep discounts. And look, consumers have seen the result of that over the summer and the fall here. There's a lot of cigars that were literally $10 cigars just a year ago that are like $4. It's crazy. And that was because manufacturers were panicked because you're cash starved, March comes, sales aren't happening, and you desperately need the money. So in our case, we were so small, we just decided to weather it through and just not sell cigars in March and April. I mean, we sold cigars to those retailers that bought, but ever since middle of April, we've been like shot out of a cannon. And since that point, the factories have always been behind. And then all of the logistics have taken a lot of time. Shipping has been real problematic and really expensive. And, like, for example, Sober Mesa packaging. I'm running out. I have no Sober Mesa packaging. My orders that are supposed to get processed for January, as of yesterday, weren't going to happen at all. But I placed the order for new Sober Mesa packaging back at the very beginning of March, end of February. So I would have had it like 4 to 6 months before I really needed it. But because of COVID, the printer shut down. Then when the printer opened, the paper supplier was closed. The embossing guy was closed. The powdered ink guy was closed. Everybody was closed. So the whole year. And then they finally were able to get everything they needed. And they printed it all in September, October. And then the first print run was bad. And they had to redo the entire print run. You know what I mean? So it's been like that all year long. It's been feeling like pulling teeth. And at the same time, our sales have been dramatically escalating. And we got to the point that in August, we just had to stop opening any new accounts at all because we couldn't fill the back orders for the existing accounts. So why add new accounts, which pains my soul because, look, I'm a small business. I'm trying to grow. I mean, we're not in that many stores around the country. We're in like, 300 maybe? I don't know the exact number. But we haven't opened a new accounts in August. And I think we have like 70 new accounts in the queue waiting to be opened. And they're not us soliciting them. It's them soliciting us because we haven't been doing any solicitation. So we have struggled all year long with back orders. Brule, Umbagog, even regular Sober Mesa and Mi Querida. But at the same time, we've been making cigars every month. We're importing cigars every month. We're getting cigars out there. I'm hoping that the normal slowdown will happen this month, next month, February, and it'll give me a chance to get back to where I have. at least 2 to 3 months of inventory in the warehouse, because that's what I like. I don't like back orders. Back orders make your ego feel good, but they don't do anything for your wallet. They don't do anything for your retail customers. They don't do anything for the consumers that like your cigars.
Absolutely.
So the whole being big time back ordered to me is bad news. I don't like it at all. So I'm hoping that we're going to climb our way out of this hole in the first quarter. But I don't know what to predict. And I don't know about you. I still don't know what 2021 is going to look like. I mean, 2020 was so crazy. I don't know what's happening. Stores are being closed again all across the country. I mean, we're coming into winter. Regretfully, people are being laid off now that weren't laid off in the spring and the summer. You know what I mean? So there's still layoffs that are happening. It's an impossible market to guess where we're heading. But I mean, the goal is to have cigars always in inventory. So when the retailer calls, because they have a customer that wants it, we can ship it to them. And at the same time, the goal is to go to those 70 new accounts and to open them. I want to be in every store that wants our product that's a decent store. I'm not trying to limit the sales of anything. The only thing we intentionally limit is unicorn. Other than that, there's nothing else we intentionally limit. As long as I have the materials and I can make it the same quality and consistency, I'll make more. We would have made 1,500 red meat lovers this year if we thought that was the right number. You know what I mean?
I know.
But you don't know. You're taking these stabs in the dark and you're making decisions in March that are going to be delivered in November, which ended up delivered in December. So it's really hard. But I think we've done it. Look, you buy. So you know what the situation is.
Yeah.
Certain manufacturers that are really having unbelievable years that are really behind. And you have other manufacturers this year and brand owners that it's been a really tragic year for them, And, it's kind of weird how there's some winners and there's some losers. You tend to deal with more of the winners because you tend to curate better. And the other thing, too, is, look, we got no event sales this year. I mean, normally, every time you do an event, even in a little store, they order an extra $3,000, $4,000. In a big store, they order an extra $10K. You know what I mean? We lost all of those sales.
Yeah.
All the sales from the trade show. None of that happened. Like, for example, I have a lot of Tricky Traka 652s right now because I thought the trade show was going to happen. And we would have done the launch of the 2 new sizes of Tricky Traka, and I wanted to be prepared for it. Well, that never happened. And at the same time, I've never had a real way to go to the retailer and say, okay, buy this Tricky Traka package because I never had enough 648s. I never had enough 552s. You know what I mean? So what am I going to do? Here's a great deal on the 652. Well, I don't want to give the cigars away. They're perfectly great cigars. You know what I mean? So, and like the Saka squat you have behind you, those were meant to be at the trade show this year, that when the retailers placed an order, we were going to send them one of these big Saka squatches. Well, since the trade show didn't happen, and since we never had enough product to do any real deals, I have most of those still sitting in my warehouse because I don't want to waste them. I mean, it took me a year and a half to almost 2 years to get that sucker done. You know how much a mold costs in that size? The mold costs are just stupid. And I had to make 3 different molds before we got to one that I was happy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you know how much it costs to make a mold that size. Yeah, I mean, we're bumping into $8,000 for a big injection mold like that. It's not little money. So I don't want to waste this stuff. It's just been such a peculiar year. And the worst part is I still have no clarity on what next year is going to be like. I just don't know.
Well, listen, we don't know, but we're going to do what we do best and keep doing what we do. And like I'm a firm believer we find our way through things. The people that want to find their way through things find solutions. Other people will just sit back and want to.
This is not the year to sit back.
No,
I've worked. I haven't traveled much this year, but I have worked really, really hard this year. I really have.
I think as anybody who's managed to maintain their business or even grow in this environment, because you had to, the whole business model changed.
Yeah.
We would normally have an event in a store every month in our retail locations. That stopped completely. People coming in through our doors stopped completely for almost over half a year. So, you just have to find a way to pivot and find a way to survive. If you're hungry, you're going to learn how to hunt.
Right.
You know, you're gonna learn how to hunt food real fast.
And I think you see that this year. There are just certain people that did really well, but they put in the effort. They had to put in the effort. There were no free rides in 2020 for anyone.
Listen, I tell it to my kids, there are no free rides ever. You know, if something's free or too good to be true, it just doesn't usually pan out.
But I think 2020 was worse than it's ever been. I really do.
Of course it was. And of course it was.
And we're God bless. We're having a great year, and our numbers are fantastic. And I'm going to end up owing taxes that I didn't plan on owing. But at the same time, I'm thankful to be in that situation. I am tired. I'm ready for – I would love some normalcy for a little bit. You know what I mean? I'd like to be able to do my 7 to 10 day trip to Nicaragua every month. I'm so
tired
of
the routine.
I'm so done with Zoom and conversations, bilingual conversations through video chat and WhatsApp and a million photos going back and forth. It's not the same as me being there and yelling in person. I'm way more effective yelling in person than I am through a fucking screen. You know, so I need things to go a little bit back to normality. And even if that means we don't do as much in growth and sales, I'm actually okay with that. If I could just go back, I'd be happy.
For your mental sanity, at least.
It's just too much stress. It's too many curveballs. Dude, a standard stupid shipment from the Netherlands of printed material would cost me a LTL pallet, $1,200 to $1,400 US. I was scrambling to find people to ship it for $3,600, $4,000. You know what I mean? I've never talked to so many freight forwarders and logistic companies, and this was all stuff that just happened. You know what I mean? I didn't have to think about it. And this year it's become like a major crisis point to figure out how to get stuff from point A to point B. I mean, it's been just everything has been really taxing and really trying. But at the same time, I know there's a lot of folks out there that they lost their jobs. They're not doing well. You know what I mean? So yeah, it sucked, but honestly, it didn't suck the way it could have sucked, right? So you got to be thankful for that, and you try to remind yourself of that because you're happy to be blessed.
I've always said it can always be better and it can always be worse. So you just got to live in the moment, right? And I tell my kids, somebody always going to have more than you. Somebody's always going to have less than you. Just appreciate what you have. That's kind of the balance I like to cruise in. I also want to clarify because my phone's been blowing up a little bit because we just announced the Red Meat Lovers Club watch party for the Great Smoke tonight. If you're local and you bought an in-studio experience where you're actually going to be on the set with the camera people and the manufacturers and watch the broadcast live, right? The food service at the live event is included in your ticket price. It'll be done by Culinary Flair, the same company that's catered the actual Great Smoke event for the last 15 years. If you come to the Smoke in Boynton Beach to do the watch party, those tickets are for sale, but you won't be able to be in both places at the same time. Now, there's only 50 seats available for the live broadcast. It's a very limited view, and it was done more for aesthetics and the feel of a real production, like being at the Tonight Show, than anything. And plus, I knew people would ask me if they'd come and watch. But you can't be at both. So in case we were unclear.
You could buy a ticket to both and like spend some time at the studio and then right.
You could.
I mean, there is going to be food when we leave at 8, right? To go to the Boynton Beach store.
Evan?
Well, I'm making sure Evan makes us plates. Well, you're going to be there.
Right, I'm going.
I'll make you a meat mountain. I got you.
Yeah, meat mountain. That's what I like. Mountains of meat.
I have a question for Steve. I have a cigar question for Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, is there any size that you've wanted to make that you haven't made yet?
I'll tell you where I'm struggling right now. In fact, I need to reach out to Nick Quattro on this. There used to be 2 makers of poly molds in our industry. Okay. And one of them, BLH, went out of business, which left Nick as being the only maker of poly molds. And about 2 years ago, Nick stopped making custom molds because he's kind of like, I've made so many molds for so many Perfectos, so many Diademuses, so many thises and that's. Just pick one of the thousands that I've done in the past. I'm tired of making custom molds.
Now, when you say poly mold, I just want to clarify: it's a polyurethane mold instead of being the traditional wood molds.
Right. And the
Right.
polyurethane molds, I like them better. They're more durable. They last longer. Look, a wood mold in the beginning will give you a nice looking cigar, but the act of cleaning them every day eventually wears them out. That's why when you get a brand and the cigar feels a little lumpy and bumpy, you know, typically that was made in an older wooden mold that's been cleaned so many times because the little tobacco bic stick and they hit it with like a little screwdriver or a piece of steel wool. So I like to make, because I'm selling a higher price end cigar, I like to make all my cigars in poly molds, which cost more. I mean, you can get a wood Pareo mold for $45. A poly mold's about $100. And then if you want to make a Figurado mold, it's like $190 to $220 a mold. And for every pair, you have to have so many molds. And it's different. Like wood molds, they absorb moisture, so you don't have to press the cigars as long. So for a pair, you only need about 16 molds. But if you're going to do a poly mold, you really need to have somewhere between 22 to 24 molds to keep the pace of what the pair is producing on track because of the longer time in the press. So Nick stopped making custom molds. So I have a few shapes that I would like to make, but the only way I can get them done is in wood. And because I like the cigars to look so nice, it pretty much means that I'll have to probably throw the molds away after a year. And the reality is most factories, they literally use those wood molds for a decade, and they just keep getting crappier and crappier and crappier. But I can't do that for what I do. So there are some sizes that I would like to make that are custom. Is there any size that's like that you've heard of, or there's nothing I haven't made before? And look, I wish there was money in making small formats. I love small format cigars, but the problem is consumers just aren't willing to pay what they cost, because the reality is making small formats really don't cost me much less than making large formats.
Yeah.
And when you're making a large line, well, you have short wrappers, so you end up making some small sizes and you lose a little money on those because you need the wrapper to make it for the big sizes. But I would love to make more Lonsdale, more Corona style cigars, but not enough consumers buy them. And they certainly aren't willing to pay what they cost to make. So, I mean, look, in a perfect world, I'd love to be able to do more of that. But the truth is, you know, Toro, Robusto, Gordo. I mean, Abe, you're a retailer. What do you think? Those three sizes are 80% or more of the sales?
Pretty much.
Right. So all the other things, Perfectos, Lanceros, Lonsdales, Coronas, you know, everything. It's like 15 to 20% of the sales. So you just make these three sizes and you're golden. You make all the other stuff and you're scrapping is what you're doing. But it's all the other stuff that makes it unique and different and sexy and, you know, intriguing. And, you know, so I like to do more small formats. I just can't really figure out a way. And that's one of the nice things about limited editions. You can almost get away with it to a degree, but I don't think you could get away with. I don't think if Red Meat Lovers were done in Corona size, I don't think you would have sold 600 of them in 3 hours. I think you would have sold maybe 200, 250 at most.
Very well possible.
You know?
There's a spinoff question. I guess there's some folks that would like to know, there's a rapper you've always wanted to work with that you haven't done yet. And I think the hint towards, is there any Candela in the future of Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust?
Look, Candela is a cigar maker's dream. It's so cheap. I mean, the tobacco's in the barn. You throw on the propane heaters. Within a week, you're pulling it out and you're putting it on a cigar. There's no fermentation. There's no mulling. There's no aging. Candela is about as simple, stupid as you can get. My problem is Candela just tastes like shit, in my opinion. It tastes grassy. It tastes green. It tastes like it looks. Will I someday make a Candela? I'll get stuck making one just the same way as I got stuck making a Lancero. But when I make it, I have to accept the fact that I'm going to sell very little of it. Because the reality is I've never smoked a single Candela that I thought was worth smoking again. You know, there have been a few Candelas I've smoked, but the blends are so strong, they're just overpowering the Candela. So you're not getting any of the Candela stuff. You're just getting a green cigar with overbearing fillings that don't. So Candela, I'm less enthralled to do. Look, I'd love to make a Cameroon blend. Okay. But here's the problem with Cameroon. The problem with Cameroon is it's only available through one primary grower / broker, the Mirafelds, and they have tremendous relationships with Fuente and with Altadis, and then with La Aurora, because La Aurora has always made Cameroon cigars. Those three customers are the ones that get the best choice of everything every year, and deservedly so, because they've been loyal customers to the Mirafelds. So you are always in every year left over with scrap when it comes to Cameroon. And what ends up happening is sometimes if the crop's really good, you can get some good Cameroon. A lot of times, though, what you're getting are these little tiny leaves. You know what I mean? You can only make these really small cigars, or you're not even getting that. So it's very hard to make Cameroon on a consistent basis because there's no way to guarantee that you can get the materials. It's one of the things that I really pay a lot of attention to when I'm making a brand. I'm really thinking about, well, am I going to be able to make this next year? Am I going to be able to make it the year after that? If I need more tobacco, can I pay them to grow more tobacco? You know what I mean? And when it comes to Cameroon, I'm really at the whims of the world of whatever happens in the marketplace, and I'm just a bottom feeder on it. So for me, as much as I'd love to do it, and then there's another issue with Cameroon. If you're going to do Cameroon right, Cameroon is a very delicate, lightly spiced wrapper, gentle, soft, little nuttiness. So it ends up kind of, if you're going to do it right, you're really driving towards a much more mild, maybe mild medium style cigar. And for the most part, those cigars have kind of fallen out of favor other than in Connecticut shade. So, I mean, look, Fuente does well with it because they've always done well with it. And I would argue to a consumer, you want to smoke a great Cameroon, smoke a Fuente Don Carlos. It's still, in my opinion, the epitome of what Cameroon should be. So as much as I'd like to go down that path, I just don't think it's practical. And there's no point in making something that I can't make on a repeat basis as well. So it'd have to be like a small little 5,000 cigars because I just happen to have 5,000 enough tobacco to make 5,000 great Cameroon cigars. And then again, it ended up being a mild cigar because I don't want to make a strong Cameroon. If you make a strong Cameroon, then you're just wasting the wrapper. You're just saying there's Cameroon on it. And the reality is I could take a lighter grade of Ecuador Habano, a lower priming, and I could say it's Cameroon. And let's be honest, are customers really going to know the difference?
Most won't.
Most won't, exactly. But I don't want to go down that path either. So, I think it's Cammy I'd like to do, but it's tough.
It's interesting because you mentioned Don Carlos, my first box of cigars, I may have mentioned it before, that I ever bought was the first full box was a Don Carlos #2.
And mine was Arturo Fuente Hemingway's.
Oh, there you go. You remember the first box of cigars you ever forked over money for?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mine was the original 601 Blues.
Oh, that's not that long ago. Well, I guess it is that long ago. Yeah. About it, yeah. How about you, Evan?
Yeah, H. Upton Chairman's Reserve.
Oh, okay.
Out of Dunhill. I used to be furniture at the old Dunhill on 57th and Park Avenue. That was my first go-to cigar shop. And I got really lucky by finding the right cigar shop. I'll tell you, that's so important. It's an underappreciated. If you have a go-to cigar shop in your life, it's everything, And living in New York City back in the day for 16 years, I had Alfred Dunhill, and that was really special. I had a lot of good friends that had a lot of great cigars there that we shared.
There's tons of cigar retailers around the country, but what you want is someone who's actually a tobacconist, someone who has a staff that can actually educate you, direct you to the products that are right for you, help bring you along where this is a step that I think you might be interested in. That's much different than just, and that's where you kind of lose the connection sometimes with the online purchasing is, look, I mean, you look at the pages of a catalog, and on every page, that's the greatest cigar ever made. Well, it can't be 50 pages of every fucking cigar is the greatest cigar ever, right?
Sure.
And it's the greatest cigar ever if it's $15, and it's the greatest cigar ever if it's $4. You know what I mean? So it all gets kind of lost in the wash, and it leaves the consumer without any guidance. And cigars they all look the same. They're all brown and round. They all have pretty names. They all have pretty bands. You need someone that's going to help kind of walk you the right direction. In addition to that, not just walk you the right way, but also walk you the right way, cognizant of what you personally like and what you smoke. You know what I mean?
We like to call that helping you along your cigar journey. That was a marketing sentence phrase I came up with at least 20 years ago. Continuing the cigar journey. I've always looked at a person who's just getting into cigars, or if you've been in cigar, it's a journey, it's a progression. You start out and you evolve and things change. And we just had a marketing meeting. Everybody's typing in 820. Yeah, we know the sale's over, the event's officially done.
I'm getting it ready right now.
It's a few minutes to download all the data and get it to Alex. We're on it.
But, is this the reason my price is back up again?
Yes.
Your what?
Yes.
My prices are going back up?
Raising your price.
Love you.
All right. We just had a marketing meeting today. It's one of the hardest things sometimes when I talk to people, because traditional marketing doesn't always work the same within the cigar industry, because there is that culture, the mentality where people like to have a home base. Most people, unless you're the guy that wants to order the cheapest cigar you can find and sit on your porch and smoke alone all day, right, want to have a home base shop. They're proud to have, this is my home shop. This is my home base shop. And it's those shops that develop that culture and doing what you just talked about, Steve, helping people along their way. And I'll be honest with you, that's why I was hesitant for many, many years. I mean, Steve, you were involved at the time, and you knew when we were trying to start a website, I didn't want to do it because mentally I couldn't comprehend, how do I take what I've done and have been so far successful locally here in Florida, because this is what I know how to do. It's all experience and interaction. How do I do that on a website? And it was actually Jonathan, and you were working there at the time, who talked me into starting my first website and trying to come up with ways in which we can interconnect. And then the whole thing of social media really opened that up, where we could do stuff like this or make videos, and I could have that connectivity that I've done here for a quarter.
Before that, you didn't stand a chance, because I used to work at JR, and look, all the deck was stacked in our favor. We had the customer list, we had the reach, we had the advertising budget. Printing catalogs is incredibly expensive, from the pre-press side of it to make a catalog to then actually ship those catalogs to the customers. And, that's where the internet started to level the field, but you still had a hard way to reach the consumer. Now, social media gives you a tool that lets you, and I always say this though to people, though, they have very odd perceptions. Like, there are consumers out there that, because they see so much Saka online and social media, they think we're some like major mega company. You know what I mean? And we're just a little tiny family company. I mean, we're growing, and thank you, but at the same time, I can't do what Drew Estate does. I can't do what Davidoff does. The only thing I can do is try to make a cigar as good or better. But all the other stuff, they got all the advantages across the board.
I think that's a sign of when you're doing things right, because we've always had that problem early on. Like, even now, people think our organization is like in the levels of some of these big, we're not even in the same stratosphere. Right. I mean, I got one web guy here where these other guys got teams of 10 working in rooms. And
even when I was at JR, we had 4 dedicated people.
Yeah.
And they weren't the guys that took the photos. There was another guy that did the photos. We just had 4 people that worried about the programming and the database and the integration. You know what I mean? I mean, we literally, there's like a team of 12 people that are working on that. I mean, even a guy like Jeff of Corona, he has a room with 3 people that create content. In Famous, they got that whole the CA, cigar advisor. I mean, I don't know how many people are in that room, but every time I pass by it, it looks like there's an army of people in there creating, unique individual content. I mean, it's a lot different, but the consumer from the outside, they're like, well, X company posted one time a day, and Smoke In posted one time a day. So therefore, they're the same. But what they don't realize is that you're not sleeping. I mean, you're doing right. You're doing everything when you're on the toilet. You're doing everything. You're at the dinner table with your family, and you're doing something. You're on every time you get in the car, every time you get out of the car. I mean, you're just constantly churning to keep that alive because you don't have that staff. You don't have that capacity. I mean, you're working towards it, but you're working a lot harder.
You have to.
You have to.
My man Alex, are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, so Steve, first of all, I want to thank you for giving us the honor of being able to give away the first one of these, because I know this has been highly talked about and people have been excited about it. So for you to let us give away the first one at the RML drop is pretty awesome. Alex, are you going to screen share this?
Can we just take a moment here? Why do people even want this thing? Where are they going to put this thing? Where's your wife going to be okay with this thing?
I mean, you know what my only problem is I got one mounted on each side of my door because we didn't send one to the West Palm store yet, and it's awesome. And the humidor door in Boynton, they look like two lions, but they're both facing the same way. If I could have gotten one the other way,
you know what? 8K, I'll make another mold just for you. You gotta buy a minimum of 500. So 500, a new mold, we're done. 8K, 500 units, you can have it the other way. We can do a mirror.
These are awesome. I'm telling you, you're gonna see these everywhere when they start landing. These are awesome. All right, Alex, how many entries do we officially have?
So we officially have 287 entries.
Wow, that's way more than I thought we'd get.
And I got to tell you, I'm feeling the pressure on this one. Remember, people, this is completely random. I know there's a lot of people that want this, and there's a lot of people that are going to be disappointed.
Here's the funny part. How do they know it's really random? I call bullshit on this.
No, we
like 20K a year.
We're legit. We're not.
So here we go. I'm going to share my screen, and off we go.
Let's see who this bad boy goes to.
All right, so can you see my screen? Yes, you can.
Yes, we can.
All right, so once again, big thank you to random.org that I don't know who found, but it's been great for raffles. So we have 287 entries. Let's see. Number 207.
Later in the day.
207. Wayne Watson is our winner.
Wayne Watson.
And you notice that Wayne has 3 entries. So, and look at you, Ian. You just missed it, man. I just saw Ian Dutton the other night.
Yeah.
And Lee Weber.
Watson, congratulations, my man. You have won the first Saka Squatch from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Steve, we'll get you that information for you.
Absolutely. I'm going to drop ship it directly to the gentleman. And like I said, I don't know. The one thing I don't know, I need to do this. I need to take one and put it out in the snow. I don't know if it's like weatherproof. I don't know if you can use it like a gnome in your yard.
Well, didn't you try to burn one of them recently?
Yeah, I had somebody ask me if it was flammable. I'm like, I don't know. So I hit it with a map torch, but it was the little one I did. You know?
I sort of want to do another. Can you do another, Alex? This is Abe doesn't know anything about this. Steve doesn't know anything about this. Alex, do me a favor, okay? Do another random. Okay. What I'm going to do is this. I have a Red Meat Lovers Club bundle, an old one, really old. I'm going to send it to someone with a spatula and a t-shirt, and I'm going to make up another Red Meat Lovers Club package, and I'm going to personally send it out as well. If you could draw one more name, Alex, that would be really cool.
Absolutely.
Very nice to you.
Sorry, Abe, but I love
last minute stuff like this.
I love it.
I'm getting shamed into having to do some shit too.
Don't be shamed, Steve. You just sold 600 bundles or something.
I just want to see the screen again. Everyone worked so hard to get to that 287. There's so many people. that have
wonder if we should
win something. So I wanna send out red meat
people
lover.
are watching. A lot of people still they haven't dropped off, even though we
Haven't
announced the
dropped
winner.
Right.
They have not dropped
Right.
off.
All right. So give me a second here.
Are you gonna send one of them steak burn ovens?
I wish. I'm not that
You wouldn't get that much money on the entire sale of Red Meat Lovers to give one of those steak ovens away.
but you know, I bought deep on previous editions. I wasn't able to buy as many as I possibly could because I mean the demand was so quick. Like Abe and I couldn't even like recoup or regroup because they were before you know it, they were gone.
Everyone's texting me ideas and comments, and meanwhile our server's down and our site's crashed, and I'm getting 300 PMs. And I'm dude,
talking about the Floyd Mayweather fight, February 20th, also where I want to do the after party of the Great Smoke to be a Floyd Mayweather fight. And Abe said, our site crashed, and I mean, you got to look if a Saka release doesn't crash a website. Steve Saka has.
I have to tell you, I've crashed everybody's site so far. I mean, this year, two guys was prepared because I had crashed them before, so they're like, okay, But look, it's hard to have that kind of infrastructure because you don't normally have hundreds of people simultaneously trying to buy the same item. And the problem is the credit card processor. It isn't even your site.
That's the problem.
It's the credit card gateway that you have to go through that's on somebody else's server. Yeah. They're just not used to processing. You're not Amazon. You know what I mean? They don't expect you to try to process 300 credit cards simultaneously.
We were prepared and we were ready. And what happened was the flow jacked up one of our outside, like the processing side of it and whatnot. So they literally had to reboot the system. But that's why it was only down for such a short amount of time.
But here's the thing, and this is why, to me, why the crash was so epic. Everybody crashed the site before we even got the product online. I mean, there were so many people just lingering, waiting at 11:59 that when we went to put it live, the site just completely crashed.
And I guarantee you, they're all hitting refresh.
Right. So well done, guys. I know everybody gets a kick out of the site crash.
It's interesting when people were messaging me that I don't even know. Like, can you get me more? Can you get me cigars? This was happening in the morning, and then also when they sold out, I got messages.
My favorite is when I get the literally over 100 texts, personal messages, Facebook. Your site is crashed. Do you know your site is crashed? Hey,
I get them too. I don't have.
Yeah, I didn't even bother calling Abe because I figured he would have.
He knows. You know what I mean?
Right, he knows.
I'm watching it on my phone. Oh boy, here it goes.
All right.
It locked up.
Evan, I'm ready. So
all right, let's see who gets a Red Meat Lovers Club swag.
Is this bundle of RMLC year 1 or year 2?
It's going to be. I have both, but I have 2 left of the year 1. I'm going to do year 2 because I have like 15 left.
It's a bundle of last year's 2019 Red Meat Lovers Club, along with some awesome.
I'm going to throw in a Red Meat Lovers Club spatula, and also may I plug everyone who's watching this should join our Red Meat Lovers Club private group. I'm going to approve everyone tonight who joins at Facebook Red Meat Lovers Club and follow us on Instagram and come to our Boca event next Thursday. But so I'm gonna create something really special, but it'll definitely be a bundle of cigars, my spatula, and some other stuff.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's go. Let's see who this lucky one is.
I'm so happy I brought
Before
this.
we do this random number, can the same joke win again?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, hold on. Did you remove his winning entry?
That's okay. If it just comes up, we can redo it. So number 260.
Right.
I saw the number 260.
260 is the winner.
Oh, another late one.
Sorry, I'm a little late. Another late one. Sean O'Connor.
Sean O'Connor is going to get a cool box of stuff from me.
Sean O'Connor, congratulations, Sean.
Alex, get me the address, bud.
Absolutely.
You won the unknown prize.
Yeah, I'm going to make it.
The hashtag on Chris. Well, listen, guys, I know we're all busy. Steve, I know you're busy. You had a long drive last night just to get back to do this event. thank you for once again being here. Thank you for being involved in this awesome project that, the three of us really kind of thought up together, and it's awesome. And thank you for the great work that you do, and keep doing it, my friend.
I appreciate the opportunity.
A lot of fun.
It's a fun project to do.
Evan, you keep doing what you do.
Thank
keep
you,
raising money. Keep making copious. We never got to use it.
I'm so disappointed. It's my only disappointed of the night. Evan did not use my new favorite word at least once. I was waiting for it.
Copious.
It's my new favorite word. I was ready. I said he's going to say it at least 5-6 times.
That's funny. And I also did not bring up the fact that I referred to the cigar as it will tickle your nuts.
Undercarriage, right?
If this doesn't tickle your nuts, you have to check your undercarriage. That's going to come up because we're not in sales mode anymore. The sales are already
right.
Fun. My man Alex, thanks once again for being our gracious coordinator and host, and most importantly to all our awesome friends and patrons and loyal fans out there. Thank you for making this one of the most epic releases. I'm pretty confident that everybody here is really hoping that you enjoy these cigars as much as we enjoy them and how awesome we think they are. Once they start landing there, I look forward to reading all your posts and seeing some awesome pictures. And just want to tell you that you are never.
Unless you think they suck, don't write a damn thing.
But you are always appreciated. Peace to everyone. Have a good night. And Alex, everybody else, we'll see you KMA Saturday morning.
Sounds good.
Peace.